We look to Iceland, who, of course, were also sucked into the 2008 financial crisis. But unlike the other countries, tiny Iceland at the time rebuked the supposed debt that had been saddled upon them and said, no, IMF, no world government, that is not our debt to pay. That was fraud from the banksters. And in an ongoing account, they investigated, then prosecuted the bankers who were responsible for that fraud. Now those banksters have been jailed. It's in Reuters that the executives at the collapsed Iceland bank were jailed for fraud. An even more telling headline in the Irish Independent: Iceland bankers jailed for reckless loans made before the crash, and goes on to describe all the details. But it's a lesson we should keep in mind here in the United States. We don't have to go into oblivion here. We could actually just hold the people accountable who are actually responsible for these problems. Since we're not going that way, though, I take you now to Alex Jones's breakdown of society, what he sees coming, and some of the important things we need to pay attention to.
We've got an incredibly important news alert tonight for all freedom lovers out there. Tyranny is just going absolutely crazy. Tomorrow, Diane Feinstein has pledged to introduce her bill, the text of which is public, that says the ATF can just ban any guns, period, they want and order them turned in. But if they decide at their own pleasure, they might let you keep them. You just got to come get fingerprinted and registered. And now in the crime syndicate-run state of Illinois, the NRA is reporting that the head of the State House, Illinois Senate President John Cullerton, a bill that bans all new manufactured firearms, not just semi-auto, but shotguns, revolvers, you name it, you have to turn them in. And notice, first Illinois, a few decades ago, made everybody register their guns and get a yearly card that then funds the giant anti-gun police state. They've banned guns entirely in Chicago, so it's the murder capital, of course. All the criminals move there to oppress and feed on the people. But now they're introducing legislation that openly strips it and essentially shuts down the shooting ranges so that you can't even have a gun culture to learn how to protect yourself. All I can say on that front is God help us. Moving on right along here with the Second Amendment attack, Obama would call on military to disarm Americans during national emergency. We have the new executive orders and Army manuals posted up at Infowars.com that break all of that down. Now, shifting gears into other areas where we see freedom under attack, all over the country, these big tyrannical medical companies are ordering their nurses and people that work in the cafeteria, you name it, to take the deadly hepatitis shot, which is only there if you're an intravenous drug user or prostitute. That's only people that really need to take it. They're ordering them all to take it outside of law, and now more and more going to people that come to the hospital and saying, it's the law, you've got to take the shot. Just today, one of my crew members, whose wife had a premature baby, who we pray does okay last week, they told her here in Austin, and him, you can't have your baby unless you take the flu shot and hepatitis, and they're trying to inject the premature baby. I'm talking premature 3 months. I'm talking critical condition. And you're like, wait a minute, you don't give premature baby shots. Wait a minute, you don't give pregnant women shots. Ladies and gentlemen, they've always said that in the inserts. When they asked for the inserts, they said, we're not going to give them to you. So this country is plunging into tyranny. And in the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany, they used the medical system because of its, quote, authority as the first place to introduce eugenics. So we've got to stand against that. Nurses that are being fired now for not taking the shots need to sue. We need to get involved legally, because the globalists are trying to set the precedent to forcibly inoculate people, not just here, but all over the world. Now moving on to the big tyranny of the day. Sandwiched in between the medical tyranny and the gun tyranny, trying to take our guns, we have the fiscal cliff, and it's being reported for every dollar in spending cuts, because the globalists want to bankrupt us, there's $41 in tax increases. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's right. Senate passes deal means higher taxes on 77% of households, even though Obama, we're going to play a clip of that here in a moment, pledged to never raise taxes on people making below $250,000 a year. Under this, people making $50,000 a year are going to get tax increases, and that's even out of the socialist Bloomberg.
And I can make a firm pledge. Under my plan, no family making less than $250,000 a year will see any form of tax increase. Not your income tax, not your payroll tax, not your capital gains taxes, not any of your taxes.
And it's the same thing with government-run health care. They've reported that most of the insurance companies are going to double rates in 2013, this year, because they wrote it. It makes you buy their product. Now they can charge whatever they want. Now they're in the news saying death panels are good. Now they've collectivized things. Let's kill somebody so that they don't draw on the system. This is incredibly dangerous, the road that we're going down. And that's just some of the news that we have posted right now at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. The good news is, throughout history, tyrants get out of control, the people wake up and reverse their takeover. And now is the time for all of you out there that realize what's happening to stand up and let your voices be heard and point out what collectivism and gun grabbing does. It leads to absolute despotism. Well, that's it for my contribution to tonight's Infowars Nightly News. We're going to go now to a very important interview that Aaron is about to conduct with Dr. Jerome Corsi. Twice the Texas legislature has shot down the main artery of the NAFTA superhighway that is attached to the North American Union. They want to take over all the major interstates and do this. That's official Department of Transportation documents. Twice we've defeated it. Rick Perry has now come back in with an order with the state saying hand over our existing roads to Centra of Spain to fund the construction of their superhighways, which will also be toll roads. So here is Dr. Jerome Corsi with Aaron Dykes.